Yep. Hello, guys and gals, and any gender specific that's out there that wants to join SAS with Class on Wednesdays at 10 a.m. with Sylviane and Amy. Anyway, today
Hello.
we're talking. Hello, Miss Montreal. Oui, ça va?
Ça va bien, toi?
Good. Ça va bien. Muy bien. Anyway, yes, guys, gals, gender specifics, anything you want, anyone that wants to listen to us and hear us shout out and give you some ideas about what we have to impart on basically the human race. We're obviously entrepreneurs when it comes to each raising 5 kids, going through divorces, money issues, addiction problems, mental health issues, all of the above. And what we've been talking about a lot lately is like the holiday blues and learning how to establish some boundaries for yourself so that you don't get holiday burnout and become so anxious and overwhelmed and frightened and angry because of all the expectations on us, whether we're new moms, whether we're mother-in-laws, whether we're uh, mothers that have teenagers, whatever it may be. It's very hard and a good day to keep your family together and happy and at peace, and everybody is commingling nicely with no toxicity or just the regular BS that we go through as moms, dads, parents, all of it. But we were talking about that, weren't we? And we've been talking a lot about wellness and nutrition and the well-being of your life with proper sleep, proper diet, proper sex, if that's your thing, romance, intimacy. We all need that. We all need the connectedness, whether we're a man or woman. But we all know that women are a lot more complex and a lot more, can be a little bit more, passionate and emotional and hormonal about their marriage. They're raising their children. They want to be the perfect moms. They want to be the perfect wives. And it's easy to create burnout, right?
Yeah, burnouts. And often I think more so women, even though maybe it's not proper to link it to a gender, but boundaries, like maybe some men too. Like, I guess, no, anybody, some people tend
This
to
day and
have,
age, it is everybody, isn't it? It's
yeah,
everybody.
it
It's not
affects
just,
everybody. Yeah.
yeah, because there's men that are raising their kids. There's men now that stay at home, stay at home and, are the mommies, and the wives are out being, power women, power mothers, and wearing their power suits and having big, high paying jobs, which is a different dynamic as well. So it's just as much for single dads, divorced dads, dads that are trying their hardest to raise a healthy family with a busy schedule,
Yeah,
right?
it's not easy, and that's it. And when it comes down to boundaries, I think it affects anybody. Like, some people just have less of a boundary because you think you're a
Not
nice
good enough.
caregiver and you want to
Mhm.
give, and you want to give, and sometimes there's no limit. But
Yeah,
then what happens when we were discussing this last time, when what happens when there's no limit, then at some point the other person, there's like an imbalance.
right.
We're talking about a relationship, whether it's a husband wife, or even in friendship, or even
That's it.
with child parent. That's another thing with
Yeah.
parenting these days. Like, parents have maybe a harder time putting boundaries to their children because
There's so
because
much
it's
more out there,
it's
right? I mean, there's so much more access to all the dangers of life that it's hard enough if you're a full-time mom like we were to protect them from all the shit that's out there in school, in the movies, on social media,
Mhm.
um, all of the stuff, the bullying, the everything that goes on. If you're constantly plugged in, you're constantly not safe to live a healthy, happy life, because there's always somebody that's going to text you or say something or send you an IM or a DM or a Instacart or Instagram, whatever it all puts together
Whatever it
today.
is.
I mean, we're doing it now. We're juggling, like, we have 5 kids, 5 different personalities. And, even the ones that are living independently, there's still always some sort of issue with one's health or one's relationship or one's job or one's stress or anxiety or all the
And
different stuff that
there's a boundary that sometimes we have to put for ourselves, because we are there to to help and to support. And by all means, I'm available for my children, and I know you are too, 24/7. But
Right.
sometimes if we're doing something, like if I'm working out, that 35
Your
minutes,
time. Right. It's
it,
okay to not answer right then and there, or send a quick text like, well, what you don't want to break up your workout because it's all about your breath and how much your intensity and what you're putting into it. But even just saying into your phone, I'll be done in 35 minutes. Is it urgent? Do you know what I
that's
mean?
it.
Just to be
And
able
but
to
this is
talk.
this is what really puts us, like, we're available all the time. If you remember,
That's it.
like, even like 20 years ago, we weren't always available
Yeah.
to answer.
To be
I'm
answering
sorry, I'm gonna play.
every single minute of the day. Like my mood changes all throughout the day by who's going through what, right?
Mhm.
If I have 2 in Seattle and I have 3 here, and it's like just like you, it's like, okay, how is one's relationship? How is one feeling with their anxiety, but they're not dealing with their anxiety by going on meds or going to a counselor, or everybody self-medicates in a different manner, right?
Yeah,
Everybody has their addiction or their vice, right?
that's hard to
Navigate.
differentiate. And at this point, when they're adults, I try to tell my kids that I love them so much, but that it's also their life, right? It's their adult life, even though they're young adult. And so I'm there. If they want advice, they could ask me. I try
Yeah,
very hard not to give advice, and I
yeah.
also try to respect my boundaries, and that's very, very new for me. But this
Oh
has been
my
like
God,
very
you've healed
new.
so well, Sylvia, and you have been doing therapy for like 15 years, I think you
Yeah.
said, and it really shows. Like I did it when I was younger, and I needed to go through my traumatic alcoholic and somewhat abusive upbringing. And I did all of those. I did all the self-help. I did all the adult children of alcoholics and the struggle with intimacy and Al-Anon. And I did all that, which was wonderful for me, wonderful to offer me the healing and the acceptance and the
Mhm.
forgiveness that I needed, right? Because
Yeah.
I really had some issues towards my mom. And you realize as you get older, holy shit, it's not easy. It is not
No,
easy raising children. It's not easy on
no,
a good day, right? So
no.
it's harder when you have alcoholism, any addiction, emotional illness, unprescribed diagnosis of possibly manic bipolar. I mean, nowadays we're learning, right, that everything is genetics and everything stems in the brain, whether it be hormonal, whether
Yeah.
it be your anxiety issues. Um, so it's
Also, it's
all
in the
important.
gut, like,
Yeah, yeah,
that's what I'm learning. There's a lot of, like, the gut and brain connection. It's a real thing. So yes, there's genetic, yes, there's, but at least the good thing is that we're talking about it. This is a
absolutely.
big step. So people that have this, like, in their family, or to themselves, they
Right.
don't feel like they're alienated from the other world. And you know what? I believe that everybody has their ups and downs, and but then, so everybody could understand, but some people,
Absolutely.
like, really, like
There's
now in
no
November, and
relate. Right.
it's hard. It's a blue
Right.
month. It's a blue month, right? Leading up to the
Yep.
holiday and the stress. So how, like, would you tell whoever's listening, like, you said you worked also about establishing boundaries. Do you have any tricks?
Absolutely. I do. I have so many tricks. Like, actually, you're helping me so much with all of your therapy because boundaries have been a big issue for me. And I have a shout out to all you children of alcoholics, or drug addicted parents, or just basically parents that weren't there for you, didn't make you feel safe or unconditionally loved. And there is hope. There's help to live a happy, healthy life if you're willing to, as they say, you can bring a horse to water, but you can't force them to drink it. Right. But if somebody is willing to say, holy fuck, or excuse my language, I don't feel very well. I am not relating well to society. I'm isolating. I'm down. I'm overeating. I'm not sleeping well. I'm sleeping too much, or whatever the case may be, which you and I have all gone through. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like I'm definitely have that more manic type of disposition where I like to be busy and super happy, but you go through different things. And then all of a sudden you're not doing that. And depression and anxiety and self doubt comes into the picture. And I think boundaries are a major aspect of emotional wellness and emotional healing. Don't you think?
It's an act of self-love, you know, for
Yep,
and self-respect. And I think when you boundaries are super important for yourself to say, hey, no, nobody's gonna talk to me this way. And it means
exactly. I'm
I'm
worth,
worth
yeah,
I'm worth it. That's
yep,
the
I'm
key.
worth it. I don't need to be with a husband that talks down to me or that is a basket case all the time, or I don't need to be with a wife that is so demanding that doesn't, it doesn't, it seems like the bowl is always empty. You can't keep feeding somebody unless somebody's happy within, eternally emotionally happy, or a happy disposition type of person. It's very hard to feed that well that is
Yeah.
already just, like the Sahara Desert. It's already so dry because they don't know how to self-care. They don't know how to self-love. They
No.
don't know how to create the boundaries and say, no, I can change this. I can make it better for myself, but also not feeling alone. Because one of the biggest issues with boundaries or with self-care and self-love is the isolation, right? We
Well, this
isolate.
is it, right?
Yep.
Because there's a fear of
Yep.
being
Reject.
rejected
Yeah.
or forgotten.
Rejected, right? Or it doesn't matter. I mean, when you're younger, your kids need you. So you're always like kind of on call, you're there for them. And if that is something that strikes your fancy, being the caregiver, being the nurturer, then you're perfect to be a stay-at-home mom. But if that's not your thing, you're not a sit still, you don't like being with the kids all the time, then it's smart for women to say, you know what, I'll work part-time.
Yeah.
Maybe my kids will go to like a fun play program somewhere, preschool, or some sort of co-op situation where the kids can all have some fun while mommy's nurturing themselves, because we often don't give ourselves that break because we feel that we're failing if we decide, hey, mummy, Amy, Sylviane, wife, mother, sister, daughter, brother, whatever you are, we do deserve time to rejuvenate and nurture ourselves because we're better people. We're happier people
Yeah.
that way, right?
Exactly. Having a hobby, doing what we love, whatever it is. It could be
Yep.
exercise, it could be reading, it could be talking to a friend, it could just be
Right.
going for coffee
Yep.
or going, I don't know, browsing the stores or going to
That's
the park, whatever. It doesn't matter.
it.
It's just reconnecting with yourself. And I think when we talk about yoga and meditation, I know there's a big movement out there. Okay, self-care. I just read a post on Instagram. Self-care is the new healthcare. And
Right. Because we can't
yes,
be healthy without that, right? You
yes,
can't
and that's
be healthy.
true. It's not the only thing, but yes, and
Right.
it's because we just went the other way because we're running, 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 and the
Right.
caregivers give, and there's always so the people that take, right? It's like
And
it's
they'll keep taking because we allow it. And not
it,
that you want to be
exactly.
selfish, right?
And
But you
that's what I've
want to
learned.
be available.
I was
Right.
always blaming, oh my gosh, well, taking. Yeah, but why? Because I was
Yeah.
just giving, and I was not showing my boundaries. So
Yep.
this is an
This is the
important
real
thing.
deal. Like you said, like Sylviane came back to it. She said, okay, so Amy, what have you done yourself individually to help with boundaries? And I would say one that I did is I started going to counseling. I started to really reflect on what was motivating me. Why was I happy? Why was I unhappy? What kind of turned my crank and what didn't? And obviously for me, being a hyper, over caregiver, overachiever, over pleaser, over indulgent sort of person. I mean, that's obviously my vice. Um, I learned no, like I can stop and take a nice hot bath for myself. I can take a nap if I'm overwhelmed and there's so much crap to do and the kids need to be picked up, dinner needs to be made, laundry needs to be done, Caitlin needs to be suction nebulized,
Mhm.
whatever. You're literally like, it's okay for a while. It's okay when you first have a baby or you have your second or
You
your
need
third.
to. They
Right.
don't know how to take care. And you
Yeah.
have lived it, I think, my friend with Caitlin, who's 32 and needs
Right.
to be taken care of all the time. So this is
Right.
also
Yep.
bigger. But
And
I mean,
that's why we started this as well, because it's not just for like moms. I mean, it's for everybody out there, anybody that's a caregiver, caretaker. I mean, whether you have the extra added um, pressure of having a child with special needs, or the extra added pressure of a husband being out of work, or money constraints, or parents ailing, and all of this type of stuff, it's suffice it to say is it's okay to give, but prioritize like what most important should be to you is your marriage, your relationship with your marriage, or your relationship to God, your relationship with each other, so that you are husband and wife and supported unconditionally by one another, and have open dialogue with no fear or anger or judgment, which is huge,
Important. Yeah.
right? And it's such an ongoing battle with ourselves, and that's all comes down to forgiving ourselves, stopping feeling the guilt and the shame that we all struggle so much with, and allowing ourselves to be loved and be happy with ourselves without feeling as if like, oh God, I have to run, 25. I sound like Roger Rabbit. I go to one. I mean, you don't have to run 25 marathons or 25 miles to be healthy and feel like you got your heart
No,
up and sleeping well, right?
no,
It's not a
absolutely.
competition. There's no competition,
No,
right?
there's no competition. I mean, you just have to pick yourself little goals and just be consistent. I mean,
Yep.
consistency is for healthcare, for self-care, for self-love and self-respect, I would say. And
Absolutely.
that's why we wanted to start this YouTube
Right.
channel to because we feel that some people, women and men, feel isolated
Or
and
less than. I think both of you and I have gone through that period of being such over caregivers and over supportive of our husbands' busy careers, or, starting their own businesses or whatever, that we lost ourselves in the battle a little bit. And not that that isn't what every mother or father or caregiver parent, everybody feels and experiences burnout. Everybody has like a bad period or a couple bad nights sleeps, or get a whopping cold or flu, or maybe you have to move somewhere for a new job. But the better you start saying, hey, I'm sick because I'm not taking care of me, and I'm not taking care of my marriage, I'm not taking care of my emotional, physical, spiritual well-being, wellness, well-being. But once again, it's one of those things of like, oh God, I'm adding another thing to a busy person's to-do list. Don't you think? And we
yeah.
want to do this without making someone feel like, oh God, if I'm not making homemade, everything, and not doing everything perfect, that somebody's going to look down at me and say, what a bad job you're doing. Because no matter what you do, no matter how much your heart is intended to make it be the best childhood, the best parenting experience, there's always stuff that gets thrown in that you're unexpected and or not
Unexpected,
expected.
can control
Right?
everything and the
Yeah.
thoughts, and that's for sure. So that's why you have to really dig deep, and I know it doesn't come easy.
Right.
I have
But
people.
rely on your friendships. Rely on, if you have a great relationship
Yes.
with your mom, well, then talk to her, rely on her. Because what you'll notice, and I think this is what you and I have talked about, is you only have so much energy to give to people. And if you have all these people that need, and you're so good about this, Sylvia, and you're so on call for everybody, no matter what time, what day. I used to be that way, but I burnt out too much. And my ex-husband wouldn't allow me to have any extra energy for anything but our children, or he'd throw a hissy fit.
Mhm.
So I learned to just placate, walk in eggshells, burn myself out so much, which I love doing. All of it was so wonderful. But then all of a sudden, you kind of see the error of your ways. And I think that's why we're out here, Sylviane and I, with SASSAT class, Wednesdays at 10 a.m. We're out here to say to you ladies and men or whomever that we have really good ideas on how to minimize the output of your energy to people that probably don't deserve it. Now, that sounds bitchy, right?
Well, it's not that we're not there to be bitchy. It's just
Right.
if you don't save yourself, who's gonna save you?
Yep.
Like you just
Who's
said
gonna?
it. You
Yeah.
just did go, and me too. You go,
Yep.
go. But at some point you're like, hey, you know, I would be stuck sometimes. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I gave, because when you give, you can't expect, but that's as human nature, right? You give and then you expect, and maybe the expectations are not met, and that's only our own fault, because who has the expectation?
Then it's more self-doubt, more isolation, more depression, because you say, oh my God, like I can't keep up. I can't be friends with Allison and Mary and Joanna and meet for coffee 3 times a week and also clean my house and also take care of my kids and also be there for my husband. And that's why
be
everything
rested and perky and in shape and
ready to have sex and be all like, oh, look at my 10-course meal and the kids are beautiful and everything's done. And it's kind of like, throw that shit out the window. Say to yourself, most importantly is that mommy's getting enough sleep, enough proper nutrition, feeling as healthy as you possibly can without needing to be like I was. I urinated spring water. You know what I mean? I did. I urinated spring water. I ate immaculately. I exercised like a crazy person. My house was always immaculate. Remember, you used to go, holy crap, I've never met a mother.
It was perfect.
Yeah, that's it. It was like a goddamn mausoleum. And mind you, that worked for my personality. I'm not blaming my ex-husband for any of that, because that was all me and I enjoyed all of it. But eventually it catches up with you.
It was
and you
too much.
It was way too much, way too much. And that's
and it created a disconnect at some point, because you felt like overwhelmed and like you said, you just couldn't do it all, because the kids, they grow up and we think in our head that it's going to be less time, but in the end it's more time.
Absolutely. Well, it's bigger issues like we talked about. I mean, once your children are adults, well, then you're having the bigger adult issues. And so one thing that we're both trying to impart on our audience is that, you know, we both allowed ourselves to be in positions where our husbands came first and they demanded, and we, had to sacrifice ourselves so much to keep up with their needs and their demands and their insecurities and their need for attention and sex and love and all that, and that we forgot about ourselves in the process. So it's once again that thing where, most importantly is that you have happy house, right? Happy household, that your kids are happy, your husband's happy, you're happy, you guys are happy together without like undue amount of pressure on you, that the only way you can be happy is if your husband's, everything's clean for him and he has the perfect meal and the kids are perfect and there's no noise and there's no this and that. That's unrealistic, right?
It's unrealistic, and you have to not, because in the end, in that process, you forget about yourself, because your husband comes first, or the kids come first, and then the husband, and then you're last. But that doesn't work. It does not work.
Not for longevity, right? Not for longevity.
Short period of time when you have a newborn baby, when you have a toddler, yes, obviously you need to be giving your all to protect that little boy or girl, but you also have to have a partnership.
Right.
A partnership. And if you don't have a partner, then to get a really good babysitter or a good auntie or uncle or grandparent or friend, sister.
Somebody that's going to give to the equation. Like if it's out of the question that, okay, my husband's a doctor, lawyer, something big, he's always gone, I'm going to be home a lot. Then if you have a great relationship with your mother, have her live close to you, have her come a lot to help you, to give you the chicken soup for the soul, as they say, nurturing your heart and soul, right?
That's it.
Because
that's what
anybody can do things in a temporary situation, like you're expected to. When you first have a baby, you're going to be tired, you're going to be in pain, you're going to be up, your nipples are going to be sore, you're going to be sleep deprived. But if your husband's like super nurturing and comes home and says like, I'm bringing pizza, or I'm making dinner, or I'm leaving early, or I'm going to work 4 10s, or if the partner nurtures the mother, it makes life easier for you. And because women or people have so many insecurities and fears and doubt, we overdo to try to keep the peace instead of allowing ourselves to actually not burn ourselves out and still feel good about the house being, it's not disgusting. It's like, it's clean enough. I mean, you could eat off my freaking you could eat off anything, probably the outside walkway in my house. You know what I mean? Having a special needs child first, I mean, she had so much wrong with her that I was like a fanatic about everything being organic and clean and hygienic and this and that. And then having the multiple kids after. But I certainly learned, not early enough to like salvage my children from having a pretty unhappy marriage. I think that it had its effect on them because I put up with too much for way too long. But once again, it's not about a judgment. It doesn't matter if you start today. If today is the day that you say, to hell with this, I am not going to allow this anymore. I am going to work on myself, not blame, not point fingers, because that does none of us any good, right?
We all have responsibility, like you said, no, far too long. But I would say that you also showed you taught your children, hey, enough is enough. It might have been too long. And it doesn't sound easy. Obviously,
No.
there's
Pulling the plug on a marriage. I mean, and look I didn't do it in the right way either, right? Because I ended up being very impulsive the way I am, and I trusted way too much. And so then when I separated from him, thinking it was going to be a great thing, it ended up didn't go as planned, like in terms of the financial and the fatherly support and the maybe co-parenting issue. So once again, you know, this broadcast, this segment is for people to help you navigating, you know, whether it be postpartum depression, whether it be a marriage that's unstable, maybe you're with the wrong person, and
but
find
do you like that's a big question,
credit.
but do you regret?
Absolutely. I mean, no, what's really funny is that for the first like 10 or 15 years of my marriage, yeah, there was like issues. He's controlling, he's narcissistic, he, you know, gives you false hope that he's going to be there for you and loved you so much unconditionally and blah, 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 blah. But I loved all of it. I loved being a mother. I was blessed with tons and tons and tons of energy to caregive and to be there for my family. I loved being in love. I loved my husband so much. And I absolutely loved having every single one of my kids. In fact, even though I know that I have a lot more potential to like make money and be out there in the world, I was at that place because that's where I wanted to be. And that's where I organically fit. Now I'm like going through this major life crisis where I'm saying, or major, not life crisis. I went through a midlife crisis or a crisis. Now I'm back to like being like, hey, Tamsin's in Seattle. She's okay. She's doing well. She's supported. Connor's in Seattle. He's working. He's doing well. Caitlin's always a ticking time bomb. And then my other two kids are doing okay. So then I start saying, hey, Amy, even though you're about to be 57 in like a week, you're also realizing that like, you know what? It's my time now. Like you said to me, when I had my crack up saying, oh my God, my kids are gone, like they're out in Seattle, and, and I'm here, and you were like, Amy, you looked right into the camera and you looked at me and you said, it's our time. And I was like, holy guacamole. And you know me, I'm not PC. Usually I'd say, holy mother effers. But anyway, what a powerful message, right?
Yeah,
That's
it is.
friendship. It is. It's a powerful message to be able to go. And likewise, I had children before you, so I was able to talk you off the ledge with like, hey, don't overextend yourself. Don't expect to be on time. Tell people in advance.
Yeah.
Don't apologize. You know, you do for yourself and for your children first, and keep the home happy, because that's most important. And you can't allow all the pressures of life, like we talked about with the boundaries. It's like most important, you absolutely do have to have good friendships. You have to have friends that you can call and say, I'm on my pity party, I'm dying, I had a fight with my husband, we're not having any sex, I don't know what to do, my child is driving me crazy, or whatever, you know, like
whatever it is, and then no
right.
judgment, right? That's a good friendship.
Exactly.
That's going to be there,
Yep.
empathize and put yourself in your shoes and listen without judging.
Yep.
And that's
problem
precious.
solve, and then maybe say, okay, so listen, I went through this already with Johnny at a year, or Tammy at 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, whatever, and impart the wellness for yourself and cultivate the relationship with a friend. If you have like a few really special friends, then it's so important to keep them in your life, because as you all know, or as you know, Sylvia, and there's lots of times that I've isolated so much and not even talked to my, you know, really good friends. I only have a few really, really, really close friends because that's all I'm able to give of myself anymore because I burn out and I give too much and then I don't focus on what really matters. And so now I've learned that like instead of cutting off everybody that loved you and is there for you, it's like you and I, we're like trying to meet in the middle. Like you're still like giving, 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 always being there, being the wonderful friend that I feel like I am a wonderful friend, but
You
it's
are. You've always been there. My gosh, when I got separated, you flew and then left your babies at that time.
which was my pleasure. And you know what? That was something so good because it rejuvenated me, right? And it also, I mean, I know I'm a great friend. I know I always want to be there for people, but I also was too much that way and it would drain me. Not because basically we all feel better when we're helping someone, right? Would you agree?
We do, but you have, it's always like, again, boundaries, right? You have
Yeah,
to evaluate. Boundaries is also evaluating ourselves and getting to know ourselves, like, and also,
exactly.
and it changes, it evolves, I think, across our life too. And I mean, our life is
Yeah,
not finished. And I find that it's evolving and I have less energy than I had like when I was 30.
mhm,
And
right.
that's,
But we're in our 50s and we're learning now, okay, let's help people that went through like you probably still do a little bit over committing, but then it's really rewarding to you. You're getting out, you're meeting people, you're talking to people, you're having friends over for tea, stuff that like I know I need to do more, but my depression and anxiety tends to be isolation. Whereas like I'm learning now, not that I didn't learn this before, because once again, everything comes in peaks and valleys, right? It ebbs
mm-hmm.
and flows. One minute you're like, you're doing great, you're exercising, everything's on par, you're feeling good. And then the next day, shit hits the fan and you're like,
Yeah,
holy shit, right?
yeah.
And you were always there for me. So I didn't have good family support system. I didn't have that open dialogue. I didn't have a really great relationship with my mom in my early 20s. And then I learned very quickly after I had Caitlin that, hey, shit. I mean, you know, my mother does love me and she wanted to do the best she could. So she was very supportive and wonderful through my whole experience, accepting, not that I didn't accept Caitlin, but accepting myself because I felt
Mhm.
like I already felt like damaged goods before I had Caitlin. And then when you're damaged goods that has damaged goods, fuck me, that can really rock you, right? I mean, I was just like, oh, talk about the height of insecurity. I had to like eat 0 calories a day to stay like my head was much bigger than my body. And, you know, everything I had to be just way over the top with everything, which is all part of, like you said, maturing, emotional maturity and learning to love yourself and accept yourself, but finding ways to do so before you hit that emotional breakdown period, right? Like
That's
if
right.
you so obviously we went over time. We're trying to keep it to the 20-minute segment, but we went over because boundaries and self-care, self-help, self-wellness is all such an important topic. So next week, Wednesday, 10 a.m., Sass with Class is on. It's Sass with Class on YouTube at 10 a.m. every week. So tune in and please reach out to us and ask us questions. And, you know, we do have so much information to give
We
to
would
you all.
love it. We would
Yes.
love to hear
So
from
we'll
you.
talk to you next week. Bye for
Okay,
now.
ciao.